Okay friends, it's time to get started on replacing our coolant reservoir. Something to pay attention to is coolant's a chemical, so of course you're going to want hand and eye protection. You're also going to want a collection receptacle, so of course you can recycle the coolant when you're done. I like to have this little turkey baster here. Essentially the reason for that is because we're going to go ahead and open this up. You definitely want to make sure your coolant's cool, by the way. Once the cap's off, we're going to remove as much coolant from this as possible. You're going to find 3 hoses on this. There's 2 coming across the top. You don't have to worry about too much coolant coming from there. But right down along the backside here, there's a lower hose. We're going to remove that as well, but that's where the coolant might potentially come out of. So make sure you have a collection bucket underneath this area. Next, we're going to start removing these hoses right here. Let's go ahead and grab onto the clamps, squeeze them together. Slide it down the hose. Grab the other one, we'll do the same. Move along to using a pick. We're going to get right in between the hose and the reservoir itself, being careful not to damage the hose. I'm just going to work my way around it to break up any corrosion or anything in there that might be holding this up. We'll give this a couple twists and remove it from the reservoir. Once you have it off, you want to inspect the hose. You want to make sure that it's not dry rotted and cracked. If you see a whole bunch of cracks on it or it feels very firm, you need to replace it. This little cutout right here is actually supposed to be there, so don't worry about seeing that. That just lines up with the area on the actual reservoir itself. We'll set this aside. When we do this, of course, you want to pay attention to which hose goes where. Just kind of take a quick note and set them on the corresponding side. Before we go ahead and remove the lower hose, let's go ahead and disconnect this from the body of the vehicle itself. You're going to find 2 mounting areas. There's one located up in this area right here, and then there's one over on the other side of the tank. Now to go ahead and pop this out of here, I'm going to of course make sure that my wiring's safe. So I'm just going to pop this free from the body and I'll set it aside. Now at this point, I can use my pry bar. I'm going to carefully come in between the shock tower here and up against this metal part. Once I do that, I'll go ahead and press on it, and then I'm going to gently pull up on the reservoir. Sometimes this one right here, if you wiggle it just right, it'll pop right out. There we are. Now at this point, that exposes the lower half of this reservoir. We can remove this clamp. Just be careful because there might potentially be coolant in this area. There it is, friends. Okay, now it's time to install our brand new coolant reservoir. Of course, we're going to start with the lower hose. I'm going to go ahead and take this, I'm going to start it on, and I want to make sure that this little cutout right here lines up with the top up along here. Once it's on there all the way, we'll go ahead and take that clamp. We're going to put it on there, and when we do it, we want to make sure that we have it in the exact same place as when we removed it. Double check it all the way around just to ensure that it's completely on there. After that, make sure that the hose comes down along where it needs to be, which is along the engine here. And then of course we're going to line up our tabs with the slots that are on the reservoir and then slide it down. There we are. Listen for a couple clicks. You want to make sure they're both secure and then give it a tug. Now it's time for the 2 front hoses. Go ahead and take those and put them back on in the same position that you removed them. Let's go ahead and put this back on there, make sure it's secure. Now it's going to be time to go ahead and fill up our cooling system. Something that I want to mention is Volvo requires special coolant in this, but if for some reason you can't find it, just go ahead and take a look around. You might end up finding some universal extended life coolant. This, of course, is going to work for pretty much any type of coolant. Of course, you're also going to want to make sure that it's 50-50 pre-diluted. If it's not, you need to make sure that you dilute it yourself. Once you have it full, go ahead and start up the car. We're going to let it run for a little while. Essentially what we want to do is just take a listen. We want to wait till the cooling fans turn on. After those turn on, that means that the thermostat opened up, and of course if there was any air in the system, it's going to work its way out. After that, you can go ahead and turn it off, and you're going to come out here and make sure you're still at the maximum line. If you're not, go ahead and top it off. After that, go ahead and reinstall your coolant cap.